People often wonder who we are. Why do we dress this way? What do we do all day? Why do we live this kind of life? What does it mean to be a sister, a priest, a Catholic? We want to help you navigate life through faith to find the truth of God and all His glory, because the truth shall set you free. Welcome back to our Go LE Digital series, our podcast, The Truth Shall Set You Free. We are coming to you today from our studio here in Ann Arbor, Michigan, our mother house, in the shadow of our mother house, which is the Dominican Sisters of Mary, Mother of the Eucharist. I am Sister Joseph Andrew Bogdanowitz, and today I have a very special sister with me that I will get to introduce to you, and we will get to hear her story. Why is she so special? All my sisters are special, and Sister Mary Ignatius is very special, and we were very gifted also at one year to be able to spend more time together working in vocations, as Sister was one of my assistants and proved to be an excellent one. And so I always really appreciate her for many, many reasons. But one of them is she really does have a heart for vocations and a zeal for helping young people to find God's will, whatever is His particular plan for each individual. And how beautiful it is when that young person finds it, claims it, lives it, and the entire church and the entire world is that much brighter for that yes to God's plan. So, Sister Mary Ignatius, welcome. Sister Mary Ignatius Nesbitt. And only yesterday I heard that you were basically 100% Irish.
That's true, yeah.
And yesterday was a feast in the church, the Feast of St. Ignatius. And whenever this podcast may show, or you may be viewing it, St. Ignatius is a very interesting saint, and we will talk about him in a minute. I, too, have a great devotion, as really does my community. But our first devotion is to our Father Dominic, and there are other podcasts that have to do with the Dominican spirituality, and we certainly are Dominican sisters. But Sister Mary Ignatius, tell us a little bit so we get to know you, where you were born, and how you were raised.
Well, I was born in Des Moines, Iowa, born and raised there, and I'm one of 6 children, and beautiful parents. They raised us with a lot of love and a lot of acceptance, and raised us in the church. I was baptized, received all the sacraments, went to Catholic school.
Okay, hold on. Des Moines, Iowa. So what did your dad do? Is that farming country? Is that just
Des Moines is really the
big city?
It's the city. I mean, not a big city, but the city. So my dad worked in economics. He's a certified financial analyst. I couldn't exactly explain what that is, but yeah, it was he really did it to provide for the family, and he has a mind for economics. So that's what he did. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom. She was a teacher before she had kids, and then she's a stay-at-home mom.
Interesting.
Yeah. My mom is a teacher, and 2 of my sisters are teachers. So teaching is really in the family. So it
sounds like it's in the girls in the family. For sure. 3 girls and your mom, so 4 girls.
Yeah.
And Sister, when I think of Iowa, I think of just a beautiful state. Again, in the Midwest. So is Michigan, and moving here from the South, as I think my accent certainly gives me away, and anyone who has seen the first segment knows I'm a native Tennessean, but I love the Midwest. There is such a openness and a freedom to be real and to be who you are. And so, Sister, you were raised in Iowa, and you mentioned you're one of 6 children?
That's right. Yeah. 5.
And where do you come?
I'm the 3rd, and I have there's 5 girls and 1 boy. So,
oh my goodness!
So I was raised with mostly sisters. We had a lot. It was a lot of fun. It was really like living with your best friends. So so it was a lot of fun. And only one. So the youngest are boy-girl twins, and they were born later than the rest of us. So that was a lot of fun, just to get to have much younger siblings to help take care of them, and so that kind of, I think that was very formative for me, just growing up in a big family, and helping with the younger kids, and it really helped me learn how to understand people and love people. So I'm very grateful for all of my siblings and for my family.
Did you attend a Catholic
elementary school?
I did. I went to Catholic elementary school until I went to public school for a little bit of high school, and then before I switched back to Catholic school. So I mostly went to Catholic school. And most of my family kind of went through a lot of transition from the time that I was maybe 10 on. A lot of my family members left the church. And so of the 6 of us, some of us went to Catholic school part of the time, some of us went to all public school, and a mix. So there was a lot of kind of transition that went on with that, a lot of exploration, I guess, with the faith, and a lot of differing opinions. And so that was a struggle to have that go on in the family.
Certainly.
And I saw a lot of suffering in my family members, and just confusion and not having the fullness of the truth in Christ. So,
and did you remain faithful to the Catholic faith through this, or how did you react to the confusion within your own family?
It's really mysterious how it happened, because right at the time that a lot of my family was really kind of shifting away from the faith was really when I had experienced a deeper conversion. And
any reason in particular?
Yeah, definitely. So my oldest sister actually started bringing me to her youth group, and she was about 3.5 years older than me, and she started bringing me on Steubenville youth conferences, and
Excellent.
Those really were really formative, because I wasn't particularly well catechized. I went to Catholic school and knew some of the prayers, but I didn't really know the faith very well. So that was really, really formative for me. And I saw people who really loved the Lord and really loved their Catholic faith. And I didn't understand it, but I was very attracted. So around that time, I started praying the rosary every day. And that was really a grace, just kind of when Our Lady comes in, she makes really beautiful things happen. So,
yes, she does.
So shortly after that, I started going to Eucharistic Adoration, which my parish had a Eucharistic Adoration chapel.
Sister, you are talking about a thing I just have to highlight to our audience again, which I have many podcasts now. Most of our sisters, when they enter, they have become faithful to some amount of time of Eucharistic adoration on a relatively regular scale. They have noticed in their hearts a deep desire for more than this world's ever going to bring them. And where do you take that? And who's going to understand? And who's going to be able to feel it? And so you take it to Christ in the Eucharist, His body, blood, soul, and divinity in that tabernacle, or again, if it's Eucharistic adoration, in the visibility of yourself before God Himself.
Yeah.
So you became brought back really through your sister's invitation and her example, and a youth group. In your Catholic school, were there sisters there?
No. Actually, it's really interesting looking back, because as I started going to Eucharistic Adoration, I started to, really feel a desire in my heart for a religious life, but I had no example of that around me.
You had never seen a sister?
No. Maybe in a picture. Maybe, I think at the Steubenville conferences, every once in a while I would see a sister, in the distance, but I had no experience. I knew no one who thought about that. I knew no one who did that. It was completely, I didn't even have the vocabulary to try to explain to other people what was going on in my heart. So it's very mysterious, because something was really going on, but I couldn't explain it.
My goodness.
So I think one of my earliest ideas of religious life was through reading the words of Mother Teresa. So I knew about Mother Teresa. She's consecrated to the Lord in this way, and I think I want to do something like that. But that was the only, really, there was no one in my life who showed me that example. So it was kind of mysterious.
Mother Teresa, we need to really thank her.
Yeah.
And how did you come in contact with Mother Teresa's writings?
Well, when I started going to the Eucharistic Adoration Chapel, it was really a grace. Looking back, it was just totally a grace, because I think at the point that I started going, I didn't really understand that Jesus was present in the Eucharist. I had never been taught that explicitly, but I just really was convicted that I was supposed to go there for an hour every day.
My goodness, what an unusual grace.
It was an unusual grace.
And you acted on it. Thank you.
Yeah, it was really a very special grace. I realize that now, that was not, I didn't really know what I was doing. It was, I didn't know how to pray. So, but I just felt very convicted that I was supposed to go, and there was a piece there. So and there was a little bookshelf in the back, and so I thought, well, I don't really know how to pray, but I know how to read, and I was a big reader. So I just started to. I would just sit there for the hour, and I just would read everything. I just read pretty much everything that was there.
My goodness!
And a wide range of different things that had just gotten stuck in the back of the church. So I read a lot, and one of the things that I came across were some books, kind of collections of writings of Mother Teresa and saint stories and books about prayer and just a whole wide range of different things. And that's really when I learned the faith. Really was just through imbibing, through prayer, but also through reading those books.
Sister, that's a beautiful lesson for our audience too. Let's highlight the fact that it's so important to have good, solid, Catholic, interesting, well-written reading materials around for the children. Who are the children? Any of us. Certainly, as you were blessed in Eucharistic Adoration, that they were available. Yeah. But you think of the parents in the homes. You think of you young people who are watching this and saying, why would you pick it up, and how did you do that? And how important it is for you to pick it up and to find it. And who do you ask? Ask somebody who knows answers, maybe ask your parish priest, perhaps a youth group minister. Sometimes there's so much out there by virtue of the fact that our audience is watching us today, Sister, joining us and really discovering another aspect of God's creativity in your life, in your vocation story, in your family, etc. It just, again, highlights that we can never appreciate enough. We can never know enough. We can always be learning and growing. And so the saints that have gone before us in our Catholic family are our big brothers and sisters. And so you began plugging in. And in particular, you mentioned a beautiful sister who was still alive at that point in time, Mother Teresa. So, Sister, with that desire in your heart and not really understanding much about it, but there was a woman alive someplace on earth who was running around the globe doing good and emulating what you were beginning to realize you had a heart for. What did you do next?
It's interesting, and I'm sure you see this in vocation work. I was kind of the type that thought about it a lot, but didn't actually do anything. So I needed a little push to kind of actually.
I do see that on occasion. Yes.
So besides the fact that I didn't know what to do, so so at one point I talked to a priest in my diocese, Father John Acree, who was the vocation director for a long time, very holy priest, and he actually said, you should start looking into communities and do something. So
good for him.
So he did. He gave me that little push and gave me some names to look into, and so I started looking into communities, and I really realized that there was the Dominican charism really drew me a lot. I think I loved the emphasis on the spiritual hunger and the spiritual maladies that are in the world today. And I really had seen that very up close with my family and the suffering that's caused by that. So I really had a great desire to do something that would bring the truth to people and the healing that comes with truth.
Wow.
So
that's powerful.
Yeah. So
that is powerful. And yet, with that strong Dominican influence working inside your soul, you chose to go to a Jesuit university.
I did. It's all part of God's very mysterious plan.
I completely agree.
So I did. I went to Creighton University, and at that time in Omaha, Nebraska.
So how far from home would that have
It's only about 2 hours.
Okay.
So it was nice, and I'd had some family members who've been there, and my dad went to a Jesuit school, and so he really recommended it. And so I actually, at the time that I went there, I had gone through, from the time that I was in high school, I had kind of gone into a period of kind of spiritual crisis where I was really struggling emotionally and spiritually, and had a lot of struggles with hope. I think a lot of it centered on hope. So not really believing that God loved me personally and things like that. So I was struggling a lot.
Which is a big issue for a lot of people, and always will be.
Yeah.
As we talk about screw tape, C.S. Lewis's screw tape, Screwtape Letters, so he's the main devil. How does he get into all of us? I think a common thread can always be found in, but God, you don't really love me. Not really. Well, I mean, you have to.
Yeah. Or you love the world.
But you
or
love
you love those other people.
everybody.
Yeah.
But you don't really know me. Pay attention to me. Love me individually. Like I am the only person you ever created. When in reality, in his mind, you are the only person because he loves you like he loves nobody else. And that goes for each one of us. But how important it is, and Sister, I think, too, for young people to somehow, and you'll tell us how this happened in your life, find someone or be open to a God-sent person who really does believe and really does have it together, and through whose eyes we can see some of the shining of God's own eyes with his love towards us. So who was that?
Yeah.
Since you went through this now from high school before you went into Creighton University. Okay.
Yes, so I started at Creighton. I transferred there as a sophomore, actually. So I had been going through this for about a year, and so I at the time that I went to Creighton, I was really struggling, but I kind of was really hoping to. Hope was kind of starting to grow, and I knew, like you said, I really needed guidance. I needed somebody to help me sort through the things that I was struggling with. So early on, I met a Jesuit scholastic who was working at Creighton there, and so I met with him and was just able to pour out at all of my struggles. And,
how beautiful. You had that kind of trust.
Yes, and that was a grace too. That was really
Is
a grace.
He a priest
too.
today?
He is a priest today, yes. His name is Father Andrew Jaspers. So
beautiful. Thank you, Father Andy Jaspers.
Yeah. So I think that was just a grace that he was really the person that God put into my life to, just like you said, just to clarify for me, God really does love you personally, and he's never going to give up on you, and he's never going to change, and he has this, unchanging mercy and love that nothing we can do can diminish that, and it was just exactly what I needed. And so I came back into the church.
Now, did he approach you, or did you approach him?
I approached him, yeah.
Beautiful. That was a grace.
Yeah, it was, and I really had this kind of intuitive sense, I think, from the Holy Spirit that of really this moment of like, that's the person. Like you need to talk to him.
Yes.
And I think it was partly because I could kind of tell he was really faithful to the church. I could just see it, and I thought, I remember when I first saw him, I thought, that's a John Paul II vocation.
How beautiful.
That was just what came to my mind, that, so I trusted him. And I really needed that. I needed somebody who would really, lead me faithfully to Christ and to the church, and I could really trust what he said. And so I'm extremely grateful to him for that, and to God for putting him in my life. And so he met with me throughout that year and helped me a lot to grow deeper in my faith. It was a hugely grace-filled year. I think because when you're that low, God can just pour the graces in. So it really was an experience of just a huge outpouring of mercy and grace and consolation. And I felt very close to St. Ignatius during that time too, which is part of why I love him. And
why would you feel close to him?
Because it was a Jesuit school, and just I was very aware that he was present in all of this, and it was a Jesuit who brought me into the church. And
St. Ignatius founded the
Jesuits. Yes.
And our friends are very strong and very faithful to their charism.
Yeah.
And what is also called the Society of Jesus, or the Jesuits. It obviously took deep root in you, Sister. And then you bear St. Ignatius' name in gratitude today. Okay, but so here you are at Creighton, and you are receiving, did you say monthly or weekly?
I think it was bi-monthly. It was about every
Twice
2 weeks. Yes,
that's
that I would meet with
such
him.
a gift
It
of
was,
Father's
it was,
time
it
and
truly
energies.
Was. It truly was, yeah. And I remember
Beautiful.
being very struck.
God bless him.
He was full-time teaching, doing a lot of different things for the students. And I never, ever got the sense that he was rushed or, I have my next thing to go to. He was fully present to me, whenever. He just really was very Christ-like. And that impressed me a lot. And I really learned a lot about who Jesus is through him, and that prepared me for my vocation, really. So.
And when did your vocation start brewing inside your heart?
So that year was when I really started thinking very seriously about it. And I think I had learned a lot through this experience that prepared me for my vocation, that I now understood more about God's mercy, and that a vocation is always his initiative, and we are weak, poor creatures, and he does this, and it's a grace we receive. And so I really was prepared in some important ways, I think, by this. And so I was really seriously thinking about it. And one day, actually, I was flipping through the channels, and every once in a while I would turn on EWTN because I wanted to see a sister. I just loved it when I got to see a sister. Probably just a mark of a vocation. It's a sister. And
oh my goodness.
So one day I was doing this when my roommate wasn't in the room, and I came across one of our sisters. It was Sister Teresa Benedicta.
Oh, how
and
beautiful.
she was doing a show for children called Truth in the Heart.
Yes.
And I think that particular show was geared toward third graders, and I was 20 at the time, and I was absolutely in awe of her. I was totally transfixed. She was telling this little saint story, and I was just something about her, and I think just the way she represented it, what I saw in her, and what I learned about our community just by watching her drew me. And I thought, I like these sisters. I really do. There was just something there. So it wasn't until I think late May that I found our community online and started looking into it, and I just couldn't believe it. Everything that I read on the website, it just felt like this embrace, like these are my sisters. And but of course that needs to be confirmed through talking to the community, through other people. But that was my that was just kind of my initial reaction. And so I wrote through the website, and so discerning, this is, who I am, and would you have any advice? And I got a call one day, and the sister who called me, I recognized her voice, and she was talking to me about the community, and we received this message from you. And then I realized it was Sister Teresa Benedicta, the sister that
assistant at that time.
Sister that
Exactly.
So that was just really providential, and she told me some beautiful things about our community. I remember her emphasizing that we have Eucharistic Adoration every day, and that we have a special devotion to the Blessed Mother, and that was really important to me. I loved that about our community, that we make the consecration to Mary, and Mary had played a huge role in this conversion experience that I had, so I really loved that. And then she also said that we had a missionary spirit, and that our community was forming sisters with a missionary spirit and a missionary heart to go and do great things in the world for the church and for God. And I just was very attracted to all of that. So I came. You remember the rest? I came.
I do. I came.
Well. She invited me on Pre-Postulate Week, and I'm kind of indecisive. I tend to kind of need a little push. So I hadn't really given an answer until you called me, Sister Desiree, and said, well, are you coming on Pre-Postulate Week? And then in that moment, I just had the grace, and I said, yes, I am coming, but I hadn't decided until that moment. So I came on Pre-Postulate Week, which is a week for the young women who are most probably going to enter or seriously considering entering.
And they have been through the application.
They have been through the application and been approved to participate in that. And so I didn't really realize what a big deal it was to go on this, but I just was kind of going with the graces. And so I came, and I remember we had a class. There's they invite a priest to come and speak to the pre-postulants, and it was a class all about grace. And I remember just really feeling so at home in the convent, feeling so at home in the community, and also just learning about grace and realizing, and just looking back and thinking, wow, this was all grace, all from the beginning, like that grace to start going to adoration as a teenager, and all along it was just this big tidal wave of grace, and and this was kind of in a way like a culmination of all of that, and I just was like, I have to, this is it. So I asked Paper Center, but actually again Mary came in because once I had really decided, I should really do this, I still was getting a little afraid, until at one point we all went we joined the sisters in prayer, and we were praying the rosary, and that was really I just put it in Mary's hands, and that was really when we came out of the rosary, and I said to one of the sisters, I need to go talk to Sister Joseph Andrew. I'm going to ask to enter. So that was really when that final grace came in through Mary. So it started with her. It really, it keeps going with her.
Beautiful, sister.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Mary, Mother of the Eucharist.
Yep.
And you chose the name, or you received the name, which you had to put in as one of your 3. Was that your very first one, and therefore the one you wanted?
It wasn't, in a way.
Okay.
I actually, surprisingly, I put Ignatius Catherine as my first name choice.
Okay.
Because I love St. Catherine of Siena. Looking back, I can see, this was the perfect name for me. I loved Mary. I love Ignatius. I just couldn't, I just didn't.
And why the great devotion again to St. Ignatius?
St. Ignatius, really because of the time that I spent at Creighton and his, his being very close to me during that time. And
Beautiful.
A lot of his teachings helped me. And also just not from reading it in a book, but really I really felt like he was very close to me, and so kind of more experiential. I felt like he was my friend. He was just very close to me, and that never went away when I entered. I felt like he still accompanied me there. So
I have no doubt he'll be with you every step of the way, as will Catherine of Siena, our big sister, you say, that great Dominican mystic and doctor of the church now.
Yeah.
So isn't it great to have a big family?
It is.
That we plug into as our big brothers and sisters, and
Absolutely.
we're on our way joining them. But even now, we've already joined them, especially in the Eucharist. Sister Mary Ignatius, thank you. It is a beautiful story. And so many times when I hear our sisters' stories, and I think about that very much with yours, things could have been so different. And so all we can do is be so humbled by the goodness of God and really thank Him with our entire lives that at those moments we had the grace to say yes to the divine plan for the next step of the way.
Yeah.
Always say yes to Jesus, and you'll never be wrong.
Yep.
May God bless you, and thank you again, Sister, for joining us, and thank you to our audience for being a part of our community through these broadcasts. The truth shall set you free. God bless you.